Couple adopts 3 babies and then discovers something unbelievable. Phone call. When she got the call from Child Services and learned what her neighbor had done, she didn't know what to think. With tears running down her face, she called out for her husband. He found her by the phone, hysterical. They thought they were prepared for the adoption process, but neither of them had expected this. The couple could never have predicted how things would pan out. The whole story starts with a woman called Julie Washington. Georgia residents Julie Washington and her husband BJ already had 2 children of their own. Julie worked as a night shift nurse, and BJ was a research assistant at the University of Georgia. On top of their demanding careers, the couple also had to care for their 2 young daughters, Ryan and Reed. To the Washingtons, family meant everything. Julia and her husband had always dreamed of having a large family one day and were keen to expand their family even further. However, they decided that, rather than conceive more babies of their own, they wanted to go about growing their family in a less traditional way. "We decided to grow our family through adoption," Julie explained to ABC News in 2016. When they heard about 3 siblings who had been in foster care for over 4 years, they didn't hesitate. And so the Washingtons began the process of adopting the 3 young brothers. The couple got to know the boys, and it wasn't long before they had fallen in love. In 2015, the couple adopted 6-year-old Michael and his 5-year-old sister Jess and 4-year-old brother Cameron. With the paperwork signed and being processed, everything was going well and seemed to be going according to plan. The Washingtons were excited that their family was about to grow from 4 to 7, or at least that's how it seemed. Julie and BJ were excited preparing for the 3 new members of their family and were ecstatic about the situation. But then they got a call from Children's Protective Services that rocked their world. As it turned out, they had completely overlooked something when they decided to adopt the siblings. They were in for a shock. When Julie heard the news, she felt her world began to crumble around her. After months of paperwork and planning, they thought they had prepared for everything. The agency told the devastated Washingtons that Michael, Jess, and Camden had a younger brother. The toddler's name was Elijah. There had been 4 siblings, not 3. What did that mean? The proposition came as a complete shock to Julie and BJ. How could they leave little Elijah behind? The couple hated the idea of the siblings being separated like that. The thought of them being split up kept them up at night. They wanted to bring all of them into their family and help them make a home. There was only one problem. They just didn't have the means to increase their family from 7 to 8. What could they do? Julie was terribly broken up by the situation. The separation of these siblings was a terrible burden, and she shared the story with everyone she met. The story made the rounds and eventually came full circle. Julie was determined to do something about little Elijah. She sought advice from her family and friends. Jay, who worked as a photographer, was also a very family-oriented woman, and in a strange twist of fate, she had also adopted 3 of her 5 children. She also believed that it was a very tragic situation. Both women wanted to help the baby and find a way to keep him close to his other siblings. However, neither of them had any clue how they could do that. Julie explained her dilemma to Jay over the phone. She poured her heart out to her friend, expressing her concern that Elijah would end up far away from his biological siblings. While on the phone, Jay did her best to reassure the distraught mom. She told her that they would make a plan to ensure that Julie's boys knew their little brother. But when she got off the phone with Julie, she couldn't stop thinking about how she could solve the seemingly insurmountable problem. She mulled over it for 3 days, but she still didn't have an answer, until one fateful night. Now she finally knew. She immediately dialed the 24-hour Child Services line. "We'd like to adopt Elijah so that he can be close to his brothers, and they can know each other growing up. We can all be one big family," Jay explained. And when Julie got that call from Child Services informing her that her neighbor had offered to adopt little Elijah, she couldn't believe her ears. When Julie learned what her neighbor had done, she didn't know what to think. With tears of joy running down her face, she called her husband. "It was such a gift from Jay and her husband George," Julie told People. "The love and gratitude that I felt was overpowering. Now Julie could tell her 3 boys all about their little brother, who they hadn't even known about. But Jay had another very personal reason for wanting to help Elijah and his 3 brothers. She didn't want the same fate for the 4 adopted boys. She was prepared to do anything to ensure that they grew up together. "I know what it feels to look at your family and not see anybody who looks like you," Jay explained to People. So in March 2016, Julie and Jay's adoption came through, on the very same day. Now Elijah lives right around the corner from his 3 brothers. And as a result, the siblings of the Houston and Washington families have become closer than ever. The 2 clans even meet every week to play soccer and spend every birthday and Thanksgiving together. "The adoption of all 4 boys has joined our 2 families for life," BJ told People. "Our main goal is to make sure they have the bond that brothers would have in a traditional family."